Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? And happy holidays to everybody. Even if you're not, maybe you're one of those people who's like, yeah, I don't like the holidays because me and my dad don't get along. AKA every art school girl I've ever talked to, that's their story. Oh, you going home for Christmas break? Yeah, but I don't really know why. Me and my parents still get along. It's like, well, you're so fucking jolly. That's kind of odd. But today I thought that we would go through basically the evolution of Santa, starting from what we know of him today, this beautiful... Oh, come here. Oh my God, Santa, stop. Oh my God. All the way back to his earliest conception, because when doing some research on this, you kind of find out that it's just as horrifying as anything else that we talk about on this channel. So let's talk about Santa Claus. Where'd he come from? Where's he going? Probably won't talk about where he's going. He's probably pretty much, this guy here is probably, that's probably it. Actually, that's not true. There could be something where Santa himself takes over Christ's image and he becomes a god. When I was a kid, Christmas was a big deal. Christmas was a big deal because it was another act of faith in your life in a weird way as a child. You have the allure that people are going to give you things, but not only just give you things, but everyone's a lot nicer. Everyone's more chipper. People are wearing kind of the same thing, green and red clothing. It's just a time to be jolly. And I feel like that's lost. At least maybe I'm just too old now and I don't experience it like I used to, but I miss those times. And I love the big man. I love the idea of having like a vigilante magic man that it's like everyone just universally agrees it's okay for him to break into your house and eat cookies and drink milk because he just leaves you presents. It's just like, we have a child in this house and you're gonna break in and just, he's just, I see you when you're sleeping and I know when you're awake, so don't shut those eyes. Needless to say, it's a big deal. So I just want to talk about all the different kinds of Santas because there's not just one, there's a lot of them, which starts off in the 2020s, the now. This is where we're at now. We, as a society and as a human race, we are starting to do virtual Santa experiences where you can get on Zoom calls because of COVID. People now go on Zoom calls with Santa, and that's the new sitting on Santa's lap. And for people who are so, not from this planet, you would go to a mall, maybe? You would go somewhere and there'd be a Santa, and you'd sit on his lap and you would ask for a gift. And he'd be like, oh, well, I'll see what yeah, okay, fine, you'll get it. But no longer. Now it's all just adopting older traditions to new day circumstances. Everything's online, everything's digital, and even Santa's big, soft, hot, sexy knee is divided between a computer screen, which also increasingly Santa is used in context for promoting sustainability, social justice, and other contemporary issues. Depictions have appeared featuring African-American Santas as well as Santas in wheelchairs. We have a Santa for everybody now, because back in the day, let me tell you, Santa didn't talk about any of that shit. It was just kind of like, this is the Santa, tough shit, all right? Which, looking back on it now, I feel kind of guilty. That's just what he is. Are we sure? Yeah. Yes. No room for discussion. I will say the wheelchair one, come on. He's magical. Like, I get the wheelchair inclusion of like disabled people and stuff like that, but who the fuck, like what? Maybe he fucking asked for some legs, dude. It's horrible. Don't leave that in. But let's reverse the clock back just like a decade. Turn it back. The 2010s, high-tech Santa with advancements in technology around this time on Earth. We got Santa depicted in more high-tech scenarios, reflecting the modern world's technological progress. Santa with phones. Santa's on his sleigh no longer has stupid-ass fucking reindeer. It's like powered by jets and all kinds of shit. This is an era where everything's moving at the speed of light. Internet's getting faster. iPhone just came out. The Blackberries, were fucked. The amount of people probably asking Santa for an iPhone was probably astronomical. I never did because my family was poor. Let me tell you something. In poverty, you realize Santa is not real very quickly, okay? Are you tired of having the same old browser time and time again? I wanted to talk about the Opera browser. Opera browser is faster, safer, and smarter than the default browsers. Fully focused on privacy, and I want you to experience distraction-free browsing with ad blocking with our friends at Opera. Some of the distinguishable features that I love with Opera are their tab islands, which the tab islands make it super easy to keep things organized. And I'm somebody who does not like having too many tabs open. It stresses me the fuck out. For real, ask my buddy Nick. But if I'm researching something, whether it's for a video or reference images for a background or character design, I can group these different tabs into groups based on context, which makes things condensed and easy to find so that you always know where things are and you never get overwhelmed, like I do, very easily. I have panic attacks. Another thing that is great about Opera is the private browsing. It's got a VPN built into the browser that's free and unlimited and keeps things secure. nice and tidy. It helps keep things running fast and ads get blocked with one click. Plus, with Opera, all of my messages are in one place on the sidebar. All of the messages from Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Telegram are all integrated into quick access, beautiful little side tabs. Easy peasy. Also, Opera's new AI tool, Aria, is great at helping me summarize information, giving me convenient and comprehensive results in seconds. So download Opera today and head into the new year with the best browser for all of your needs. Be sure to check him out in the link in the description below. Back to the video. But I will say, I did ask my mom for a Rhapsody. I couldn't afford an iPod because the iPods used to have were those big brick ones, and I was really fucking jealous because my buddy Anthony, if you're watching this video, Anthony, you know who you are, he had one of those giant brick fucking iPods, but he had every Lord of the Rings movie on it, and he'd be watching that in school, and I'd be like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
I did that with my Zune.
Fuck you, Nick. You know what I had? I had the Rhapsody, dude. My mom got me a Rhapsody and didn't play videos, and it came with 3 All-American Reject songs, I'm pretty sure. It's that one song where it's like, when darkness turns to light, it ends tonight. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's go back another 10 years. In the early 2000s, Santa becomes a global icon, recognized in many countries around the world, even those without strong Christmas traditions, all right? So that's when he found out that people is just like, even if you don't like Christmas, too fucking bad, dude. He's here. He's like Ronald McDonald. Like it or not, that motherfucker's here to stay. The rise of digital and social media leads to new interpretations of Santa, including online games, apps, and digital storytellings. It's still the same old Santa that we know and love, but he's getting introduced to all the new kids via online. And this is back in the day when people were like, well, I don't even know what the internet is. MySpace, what is that? You had those kind of conversations, and you had a cool ass Santa on a MySpace page that's just like, let me finger fuck you. Probably a guy impersonating him. I don't think the real Saint Nick would do that, because Saint Nick's got a boo. Mrs. Claus.
Did you ever play Neopets?
I never played Neopets. Nick, don't interrupt me again, okay? In the 1990s, the early stages of the internet era see Santa image being used in digital advertisements and early online content. In the 90s, it was a more hip time. Sure, you know, the internet was just coming out. The technological boom hadn't quite happened yet. Also, Tim Allen was like, I am Santa, and I'm gonna be him multiple times. And if anything, the Santa Claus movie is kind of fucking scary because a man died on his roof, fell off, and then they're just like, you're cursed now. Did you want this? And he's like, well, I guess I did. You know what I mean? How fucked is that? In the movie, is there a way for him to even not be Santa? He's just Santa.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want this.
He's
like,
I don't
put it on. You put the coat on.
Yeah,
sorry.
God forbid you. Which also at the same time, if a man died there, well, to be fair, his body Obi-Wan Kenobi'd, right? It just fucking was gone.
And he was cold.
Okay, I'd put on the jacket. All right, I was trying to find some plot holes, but it seems good. I will say the first Tim Allen Santa Claus movie is pretty good. The other 2 I would skip, or the other 5. I think there's a show now. I don't know. First one's pretty good. We go back to when America was on top in the 80s. In the 1980s, see a rise in Santa's image being used for commercial purposes with a focus on gift giving and shopping. Reaganomics, baby. Capitalism at its finest. Santa's just like, I don't know. Why do I have to do it? Why don't you just buy it? Why do I have to be the one to fucking make stuff? It'd be kind of funny if it was like a really aggressive ad campaign. Why do I have to do it? You have money in your pocket. Why don't you fucking buy it, dude? Different cultures start adapting Santa to their own traditions. Through the core imagery of the red suit and white beard remains largely consistent. So now it just becomes a thing where it's just like, you know, the 80s, you got people doing Blow. Top Gun probably just came out. Motley Crue is somehow the most popular band in the world. And then Santa is just showing up in different cultures because it's just so iconic. This thing right here that we see, he's been looking like this forever. He got nice big old beard on him. You know, the red jacket. It's impossible. No one can wear a red jacket again without being like, what is it, Christmas? Isn't that fucked up? And if you're like, oh, I don't care, you're probably like an incel guy who's doing like anime poses in his room. You look like fucking like a doofus Santa, dude. Pack it up. We go to the 70s, in which Santa starts appearing in various forms of media, including animated series, comic strips, and advertisements, often with slight variations, but keeping the core image consistent. The 70s, yeah, sure. We're into disco, we're doing even more coke, we're dancing, we're not hippies anymore, but still we like to have sex and dance. But our Santa is still pretty conservative. You know, now this is where we start to see Santa doesn't really change too much. He's showing up in other stuff, but Santa's he's staying right where he's at. Which in the 60s, now you have all the classic animated movies. Rudolph, Red-Nosed Reindeer. Pretty sure that's where the Abominable Snowman's from. All that crazy, creepy stop motion shit. That was all 60s stuff. You have the now familiar form influencing children's perception of him who are coming in, and at this point in the 60s, you know, we're like 30 years into what this new design is. So while it's not the newest thing in the world, I feel like a lot lot of young kids are still, this is their first understanding of what Santa Claus even is. And then we keep turning back the clock to the 50s. Which in the 50s, with the rise of the television, Santa begins appearing in numerous TV shows and commercials, further spreading his standardized image. What happens that, you know, has been still trickling a little bit today? We get mall Santas, because back in the 50s, malls, that's where dads got their cock sucked by other men because they were too afraid to come out as being gay. And that's also where you got a bicycle. I miss malls. One of my malls had a hot air balloon thing in it. You didn't ride it, but it would go up and down. It just looked nice. There was a lot of fountains. It doesn't matter. The mall Santa. The tradition of mall Santa has become increasingly popular in the United States, making Santa a regular feature in shopping centers during the holiday season. The 1956 popular song by George Malacrino, Mrs. Santa Claus, in the 1963 children's book How Mrs. Santa Claus Saved Christmas, helped standardize and establish the character and role of Mrs. Claus in the U.S., which is kind of a big bummer, because I imagine in the 40s they're like, dude, Santa, that must have been like a superstition. Kind of like the idea that people say like UPS or Amazon drivers are fucking your wives. Now it's like, oh, Santa's gonna come in and dick down your wife or your husband, dude. Hey, Shelly, I think why is your husband so cheery lately? Probably because he's getting dicked down by Santa. You know what I mean? Probably. Or she stopped yapping at him. Hey, Christmas came early, huh? Don't show that to my wife. In the 1940s, we get a lot of World War II influence. I mean, Santa was used in wartime propaganda to promote war bonds and boost morale. His image was associated with patriotism and American values. In the movie Miracle on 34th Street in 1947, presented Santa as a kind-hearted, genuine character, further cementing his image in popular culture. Not only does Santa bring you gifts, motherfuckers like buy war bonds. We have to kill people. We're going to kill people. Also, rock, flag, and eagle is what he says. And then we turn back a little bit more to the 1930s, which is where this phase truly began. The Coca-Cola advertisements, illustrator Hayden Sundblom, what a fucking crazy name. Hadan? Is that Hadan or Hayden? Hadan Sundblom, whatever. Sundblom Santa was rosy-cheeked, portly, and wore a red suit trimmed with white fur. These images were based on Moore's description and Nat's illustrations, but added a warm, friendly, and approachable character, cementing the modern image of Santa Claus. These images solidify Santa's image as a jolly, plump man in a red suit with white fur trim, a broad belt, a cheerful, rosy-cheeked, smiling face. Coca-Cola is the reason. That's why he looks like this. There wasn't some other person. It was a guy at Coca-Cola just being like, red because Coca-Cola, right? I mean, I don't know. Look at him. And then for some reason back then, how they got that through? Well, I guess in the 30s, it's Depression era, so everyone was just like skinny and fucking poor. So he's probably like, this guy's fat as shit. He's happy as fuck. He's the happiest guy in the world right now. And they're like, fuck it, print it, move it, sure. Historically, Coca-Cola was not the first soft drink company to utilize the modern image of Santa Claus in its advertising. White Rock Beverages had used a Santa figure in a monochrome advertisement for mineral water in 1915. That doesn't fucking count in my book, dude. Because everyone knows the Coca-Cola. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep going. In some images from the early 20th century, Santa was depicted as personally making his toys by hand in a small workshop like a craftsman. Eventually, the idea emerged that he had numerous elves responsible for making the toys, but the toys were still handmade by each individual elf working in traditional manner. They're like, he's a hardworking guy. And then they're like, he has a sweatshop. That's kind of the evolution. And I think around this time too, Lord of the Rings was really popular. Like it's kind of new. And they're probably just like, it's fucking elves. All right. And they're like, oh, cool. Are they sexy? They're like, no, they're like short and gross. And like they make like wooden trains, which that's fucked up too, because all the stuff they're making is all 1930s toys. People would be like, oh, they're making Game Boys. But then Nintendo would be like, yeah, the fuck right, dude. We're making Nintendos, not those stupid ass fucking elves. The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, which was a children's book published in 1902. Much of Santa Claus mythos was not firmly established at the time, leaving Baum to give his quote-unquote Niklas. I was kind of almost said something different. You gotta watch out when you read that. Yikes. Which is Nasiel's Little One, a variety of immortal support. What am I reading? What the fuck are these sentences? A variety of immortal support. A home in the laughing valley of Ho, and 10 reindeer could not fly, but leapt in enormous flight-like bounds. Claus's immortality was earned, much like his title, Santa. Decided by a vote of those naturally immortal, this work also establishes Claus mottos, a happy childhood among immortals. Which, let me tell you something. This guy was given a book to write, and then he's just like, I'm gonna make it. Step one, he's immortal. He's borderline God. He doesn't really have helpers, but he does have reindeers that don't fly, but they jump very, very far. Which, if you think about it, they probably didn't go too in depth with this, but he'd have to jump far enough to cross the ocean. So, I mean, it's basically flying, but still, that's a way bumpier ride, dude. Like, think about the amount of times that Santa in that form probably got some fucking rocky bumps from that jumps. Doesn't matter. And in 1881, political cartoonist Thomas Nast drew on Moore's poem to create the first likeliness that matches our modern image of Santa Claus. His cartoon, which appeared in Harper's Weekly depicted Santa as a rotund, cheerful man with a full white beard, holding a sack of laden with toys for lucky children. It is Nast who gave Santa his bright red suit trimmed with white fur, North Pole workshop elves, and his wife, Mrs. Claus. Stores began to advertise Christmas shopping in 1820, and by the 1840s, newspapers were creating separate sections for holiday advertisements, which often featured images of newly popular Santa Claus. This shit's going way back. We thought it was Coke, which Coke, I still am pointing Coke out as being the fucking people that advertise this, but as you can see, the images here, it's not the same, all right? Not the same. Just want to put that out there. A Visit from St. Nicholas, which was an 1822 poem by Clement Clark Moore, commonly known as The Night Before Christmas, introduced Santa Claus as a jolly, chubby man who drove a sleigh pulled by reindeers. This portrayal was pivotal in shaping the modern image of Santa as a cheerful, plump, and friendly figure. I feel like we've said that 7 different times. People are making him fat. In 1809, Washington Irving, an American author, depicted St. Nicholas in his satirical work, A History of New York, as a pipe-smoking, elfin Dutch burgher. This was a significant shift from his traditional religious portrayal, leaning more towards a folklore-based character. Like I said, Tolkien hasn't been born yet, but I feel like Tolkien might have been looking at Santa a little bit when he was writing some of his fantasy novels, all right? In 1809, the name Santa Claus evolved from Nick Dutch's nickname, Sinterklaas, a shortened form of Saint Nicolaas, Dutch for St. Nicholas. As his prominence grew, Sinterklaas was described as everything from a rascal with a blue 3-cornered hat, red waistcoat, and yellow stockings to a man wearing a broad-brimmed hat and a huge pair of Flemish trunk hose. What did I even just say? He was basically dressing up as a rugby player. It's kind of in my mind's eye, that's what I had. A rugby player with a funny hat. Maybe that's how we'll describe it. Early representations of the gift giver from church history and folklore, especially St. Nicholas, merged with English character Father Christmas to create the mythical character known to the rest of the English-speaking world as Santa Claus. Are you following along? This is a lot of boring information. His appearance varied, one depiction being John Leach's illustration, who gives a shit about this, which now you get in, because now some people still say this. I used to say this when I was a kid, Father Christmas, which Father Christmas dates back as far as the 16th century in England during the reign of Henry VIII, when he was pictured as a large man in a green or scarlet robe lined with fur. He typified the spirit of good cheer at Christmas, bringing peace, joy, good food, and wine, and revelry, which revelry means to fucking party, dude, and to fuck hard. Typify. What did I say? Typified? He typified. Whatever. During the Middle Ages, often on the evening before his name day of 6 December, children were bestowed gifts in his honor. In the Middle Ages, that's when kids started getting gifts, all right? We're still not the farthest back. We're in the fucking Middle Ages now, and kids are just now getting gifts. We got a long way to go. As the legend of St. Nicholas spread through Europe, it mingled with local folklore. In different countries, he took on various attributes of local winter figures, such as the English Father Christmas, their Germanic god Woden, and the Dutch Sinterklaas. These figures were often portrayed as cheerful and benevolent, bringing a more joyful demeanor to the character. You notice how I said a more joyful demeanor to the character? A more joyful demeanor to a god. Where do you think that means we're going? Let's keep going back in time. The earliest depictions of St. Nicholas is in the 4th century, dude. All right, that's like 300 to 400 AD. That's where we're at. Like Rome is still a thing. Julius Caesar Rome type shit is still going on. Christianity by this point is so new that it's probably like what we almost assume like vegan bakeries are today, where it's like kind of hip still, but people are like, we get it, right? In the earliest depictions of St. Nicholas, the 4th century bishop, who was the primary inspiration for Santa Claus, portrayed him as a stern, thin religious figure, often in bishop's robes, and these images were more solemn and aligned with the role of a Christian saint. So he's not jolly, he's fucking cold, he's thin, and he's just like, God loves me, and you better love him back. Okay? It is believed that Nicholas was born sometime around 280 AD, somewhere around there, in Patara, near Myra, in modern-day Turkey. That's where he came from. Saint Nick, he's as white as we remember. I think that got smudged up in the history books a bit, right? Much admired for his piety and kindness, Saint Nicholas became the subject of many legends. It is said that he gave away all of his inherited wealth and traveled the countryside helping the poor and sick. One of the best-known Saint Nicholas stories is the time he saved 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery or prostitution by their father by providing them with a dowry so that they could be married. Do you want a Coke yet? You want those polar bears to come sliding in yet? Remember Saint Nicholas, who's like basically Buddha? It's like the literal story of Buddha who gave away his wealth to motherfucker sat under a tree, but St. Nicholas was just like, you could pay for the pussy or take this dowry. You could marry her. So there you go. People are like, are you an angel? He's like, Kinda. Sure. That is the earliest conception of Saint Nick. So we have the Coca-Cola Saint Nick. This is where we're at, right? This is where we ended up. Everyone did that game of telephone with each other. They're like, he's like a tall religious guy. And by the end of it, they're just like, he's fat and he's so happy about it. He's a fat fuck and he's so happy about it. We're here, but we started here. Honestly, it could have gone worse. Obviously, everyone likes the big plump one. Oh, you want to grab his big little titties. You want to tickle him and stuff. This guy, I'm kind of afraid of. This guy here is the guy who's just like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you with my bare hands. Also, please don't pay for that pussy. You could marry her. But in between that time too, like I said, Santa came in around the 4th century, and I think people were just like, I mean, he's too fucking happy. By this time, people are like, we need some punishment. We need the fear of God being put into people. Which also, that's when on the opposite side of Europe, Krampus came in, which you might have heard of Krampus. You know, he's been in some movies lately, but Krampus came in around the 6th or 7th century, stretching back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to put it up on the screen very quickly, and you can pause it if you want. With their celebrations involving Krampus dating back to, like I said, the 6th to 8th century AD. Before 1000 hit, dude. Think about that. Before there was even a year 1000, they had this monstrosity come out. Krampus is thought to come from either Bavarian Krampen, meaning dead, rotten, or from the German Kramp or Krampen, meaning claw. How fun. It really is a beautiful time of year. Dead, rotten, claw, he's evil. Though there are no written sources before the end of the 16th century about him, okay? These are all just speculations. It's like Nat Geo. Do you guys remember those, being in school and your teacher would wheel in the TV and you'd be like, oh, yo, we're not doing class today. We gotta watch whatever's on the TV. And it's Eyewitness, exactly. And it had, you're like going through that fucking, the museum. Krampus is traditionally associated with the Christmas season and is particularly celebrated on December 5th during the Krampusnacht, or Krampus night, which beforehand, like we said, back then, St. Nicholas's Day was December 6th. So the day before, you had to pay offerings to essentially the devil at that time and be like, please don't come and get us, please. In the folklore, Krampus serves as the counterpart to St. Nicholas. While St. Nicholas rewards good children, Krampus punishes those who have misbehaved, which we forgot to touch on this because, you know, a lot of this is common sense, but nowadays, if you're a bad kid, you get cold in your stocking. If you're a bad kid back then, like a 7-foot tall goat man comes and gets you. Okay. And back then too, there was no iPads or phones to, you know, verify, or if anything, they're just like, you believed everything you heard. That would have been horrifying to hear as a child. Did you eat mine chocolate? No. You know, if you lie, Krampusnacht's going to come and get you, right? Yeah, I know. And you'd just be panic attacks. It's like the only time in history where like an abundance of like 6-year-olds die of heart attacks, probably because they're so afraid. Krampus is often depicted as demonic, goat-like creature with horns, dark hair, fangs, and a long tongue. He typically carries chains and a bundle of birch sticks for punishing naughty children. That is, first off, the long tongue. What are they trying to say with that? He's gonna go into your house where your kid's at and get a kid, and he has chains and sticks and a long fucking tongue. Come on, dude. Put the fucking pieces together there. Hiccup. In many regions, there are traditional parades and events known as Krampusslauf, which is Krampus Run, where people dress up as Krampus to scare spectators, continuing ancient pagan rituals. This is fucked up because it's reminding me of that Borat bit, where it's the running of the Jew, which we won't put that up for reasons of worldly events now. But in recent years, there has been a revival of Krampus traditions and increased global recognition, partly due to popular culture and social media. Yeah, nowadays we like to, you know, we have to have fun with it because they're just like, I'm naughty. I'm like Santa Claus is too PG. I'm a dirty bitch. I want to, you know, have my Krampus and have him whip me with a fucking chain. The look of Krampus, he was originally scary, demonic figure, like I said, with dark fur. He had the long horns, pointed tongue, sharp fangs, and chains, and he was rooted in the pre-Christian Alpine folklore. Don't know what the Christian Alpine folklore is. Once again, it sounds like some kind of like scented thing that you put on your rear view window in your, probably it's just Alpine. I'm thinking of like the smell like, yeah, whatever. In post-World War II, some European countries softened Krampus's image to be less frightening for children, making it more mischievous with fewer demonic features, but retaining the horns and fur. They're like, okay, this is a bit much. I like how it took them till World War II. Like, even the First World War, they're just like, leave it. Leave it. Yeah, you know what's more fucking evil? Humanity. And then like around World War II, they're just like, we should probably like, yeah, I mean, we gotta just soften it up a little bit. It's like not even that far of a jump too. Maybe get rid of the chains. The kid's like, oh, thank God. I can sleep at night. Krampus's appearances varies regionally from goat-like to more human traits, with costumes made from local materials like wood, fur, and bells, and parades of Krampusnacht display diverse Krampus costumes from traditional to modern, illustrating the character's evolving image across Europe. Which I just want to say, the best depiction of Krampus ever was in that 2016 Krampus horror movie. It looks fucking sick. It's like Santa's face skinned. You don't ever see his real. It's awesome. He's hunched over. Just want to say that one's the best. It's the best ever. I mean, that puts us to the end. I mean, Santa came from the 3rd or 4th century, dude. That's fucking insane. Going back through, which Santa would I like to have?
Krampus.
No, I don't want Krampus. Honestly, I want like 1950 Santa, I think. First introduced to the mall. Big jolly guy. You know, he's simple. He's one thing. He's not mixed up in a bunch of crazy shit. We're not seeing him on cell phones.
He's white.
All right. You said that, not me. All right. Okay. He is of a softer complexion, but that isn't really swaying my... I'm just saying that it makes me think of... It's what has been ingrained in our brains, and I feel like everybody wants the 1950s Santa Claus. Everybody likes that. As you go into your holiday season, for those celebrating Christmas or Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, just remember when you see St. Nicholas, all of the trials and tribulations that humanity had to go through to get him to be that image that you're seeing today. But most importantly, these holidays are, you know, a celebration of Santa Claus. It's a time to celebrate yourself and your family. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your holidays. If it's fucking blistering cold, I hope it's a little warmer for you that day. I hope you all have gotten each other some amazing gifts and you're feeling just as charitable as anyone else that you would hope to receive gifts from. So from here at the Papa Meat channel and Meat Cannon or whatever, happy holidays everyone and stay safe. Take care. Is that cool?
Did you like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as a kid? Did you like the...
I didn't like any of the stop motion ones really.
Oh, me neither. You didn't like the Easter egg one?
No, the only thing I liked, I thought the Abominable Snowman, I think I had a statue of him.
He scared me as a kid.
Everything scared.